Good evening and welcome to this presentation, and I'm going to break this into three different segments. Going into the heart center, and we'll do one segment on type 2, and then the video will end, and then we'll do one on the 3, and then one on the 4. So this is a non-interactive presentation. We did the interactive presentation last night, and this is sort of a return to those themes and just creating an outline and clarity and efficiency in describing all three types. So if you happen to be listening in, I'm not taking questions at this time. I'm just going to go through the types. So just to remind you that the thing that we focus strongly on is this idea of learning to develop the capacity to come into collective presence, which means being able to quiet my mind, bring a quality of equanimity into my heart, and being able to inhabit and sense my body so that all three centers are lining up. And a primary practice for this, for developing quiet mind and developing that kind of heart that is unturbulated and has a stillness about it, is through sensing the body. So let's just do a really short, brief sensing practice. So I invite you to become aware of your breathing, find your breath, the rise and fall of your sensations, the oxygen going in and out of your nose or mouth. Just taking a moment to settle in the chair. Just bringing some attention into your feet and your lower and upper leg. So I'm just putting the spotlight of my attention there and noticing what happens. Often people will say that by putting their attention on a different part of the body that they actually begin to notice that sensation starts to come into their awareness. So not to worry if it doesn't, just to bring your attention there and relaxing on each out breath. And then move attention to your hands, the palms of your hands and the fingers, your lower and upper arm. Just noticing as you bring your attention into your arms and hands, what happens? Some people feel a kind of an electrical current in their hands, and sometimes down through their arms and their fingers. Just notice what you notice. You're not trying to make anything happen. Just practicing bringing attention out of the thinking center and down into your body. So you're really using both centers, the body center and the head center at the same time. So then bring attention to your trunk, lower, middle, and upper back, belly and heart, diaphragm, chest. Just bring a gentle attention to your heart and your back. Just noticing as you bring attention to your trunk that there's also awareness of sensation bubbling up in different parts of your body at the same time. So bringing attention then to your face, to relaxing your forehead, your eyebrows, your eyeballs and the sockets, just relaxing, letting tension go out of the eye area. And then dropping now into the jaw, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your tongue and your mouth, relaxing your lips. Just taking a moment to be aware of sensation as you relax your face. And then one nice breath. And we're back, which is just where we want to be. So again, just something about orientation. As I talk about the types and move through the types here, if you, from time to time, could just bring some attention into your body, sense your feet on the floor. It's often one of the things we encourage people. Sense your feet on the floor when you think about it. Bring attention to your heart. Is it closed down? Is it open? What's the state of your heart? If you're thinking center, the invitation is to stay curious about what you're learning. This isn't a belief system to be believed in. It's something to use to see if you can, by using the Enneagram, utilize it to, in a sense, be aware of the less healthy aspects of your personality patterns and stay present to noticing when you're in contact with the best of your type. So it's really a tool for investigating and observing yourself. And when used rightly, it's not about believing anything. It's really about discovering whether it works for you. So that said, I just talked about the Zen theory of change we talked about before, which is I free myself not by trying to be free, but by simply noticing how I'm imprisoning myself in the very moment I'm imprisoning myself. So again, it's this idea that as I develop more capacity to come into quiet mind and to sense my body and to bring myself into a state of collective presence, my ability to spot the automatic patterns of my type becomes better, clearer, sharper, so that when I'm going into the reactivity pattern of my type, I sense it more quickly, sensing it hopefully soon enough that I don't completely give myself over to it. So as a type 4, I have to be aware of this pattern called envy, this state of being that just passes through me randomly during the day, where I suddenly have this sense of envy in my heart, and then my thinking center jumps in and starts imagining that somebody out there has a better life or has something that looks like makes them happier than me or gives them a place in the world. But there's a sense that envy is constantly trying to come into my awareness and, in a sense, kind of feed me bait to take it and discover what is this? Where is the envy? Oh, there it is over there. I'm imagining that person driving by has a better life than me. I don't know them. They might be suicidal. But when envy comes up inside me, it's like it registers as a fact that they have something that I don't have. And that, this would be a good time to either grieve over my not having it or wishing bad things upon them. But either way, that pattern of the type 4 will visit. And the more present I am, the more I can notice, oh, there's the pattern. Oh, there's the story in my imagination that's trying to fit itself to the feeling. And so I begin to become skillful at not jumping into the pool of envy and jumping into the pool of envious imagination. And I can actually bring my attention back into my breath and body and halt or disidentify from the pattern, which makes me a little more pleasant to be around. Okay, so all the types have a different way they get lost in the trance of their type. So we're going to the heart center. And the heart center is really, the center of being. When my heart is open, when I'm in contact with it, I'm in contact with my being, with my essence. When it closes down due to suffering, fear, shame, anxiety, when my heart closes down, what comes in to fill in for it are the defensive patterns of my type. They become, in a sense, the shield. And what feels like a shield, but it actually doesn't really shield me as much as it numbs me. And I develop an automatic response pattern based on my type that, in a sense, diverts my attention away from the suffering and onto something else. So each of the types has a way, when their heart closes down, that their type pattern is activated. So as a number of teachers have said, the heart is fully broken. What arises within is the unbreakable heart. I think somebody named Hafiz said, the universe will continue to break your heart until it remains open. So this heart center is important from the standpoint that whatever kind of emotional suffering that I've experienced and haven't digested or transformed, it will still continue to plague me in the form of my types, patterns showing up to protect this vulnerable place. And so part of the work for all of us is doing the inner work of healing grief and suffering and shame and feeling our way through it, so that at the end of it, we have a heart that is filled with deep peace, a sense of equanimity, a sense of stillness that can actually hold the different mood states that come through us. So I always suggested be open to mercy and compassion. Developing compassion for yourself and others is a doorway to relaxing my identification, my personality types. So if we were in a workshop, we would do what's called an oceanic chant. In this case, for the heart, it's the Om invocation. So when I'm present in the heart, what I have access to is my preciousness. I have contact with a sense of loving affection towards other people and myself. There's a way my heart is affected in a tender way as I take in the people around me. There is a potential for just feeling the quality of unconditional love when my heart is really open, where without effort I experience a loving connection with others. The other thing that we know is that when my heart is closed down, my capacity to sense the meaning of my life, the significance of my life, my sense of being in contact with my true nature becomes elusive. And of course, when I'm not in contact with those things, I start looking out in the world for something to replace that emptiness I'm experiencing in my heart. Each of the types does this in their own particular way. So, feeling center themes. We say that 2, 3, and 4, when they've lost contact with essence, are seeking validation and attention to fill in the loss or the emptiness they experience from being out of contact with authentic self. So there's sort of an invocation or wish they have, which is to see me the way I want to be seen. And each of the types, 2, 3, and 4, have a different way they would like you to see you when they're not in contact with their authentic self. So primary emotion in response to losing contact with essence is shame and hurt. So we're going to go through each of the essential qualities of the types. We've got love and sweetness for the 2, value and preciousness for the 3, and identity and beauty for the 4. So type 2, the caring interpersonal type, the heart of unconditional love. So for the type 2, when I'm really present in my heart, and my heart hasn't been obscured by my personality patterns, 2s often have this deep capacity to feel empathy, compassion, and a quality of unconditional love for anybody they're around. It's just their nature. It's the air that they breathe, the kind of emotional air that is a part of their true nature, sensing into, feeling the suffering of others, understanding from a place of deep empathy that when people are acting badly, it's because their heart is hurting. You know, there's that saying that people are either expressing love or reaching out and may attempt to be loved. And so when I'm caught in my patterns become the strategy that I use to try to reinstitute a connection with my own heart. So we've got 2 great type 2s here. We've got Stevie Wonder, who's just, such a powerful example of love and the nature of love and the sweetness of love and really seeing the beauty and love in all aspects of life. And we've got Byron Katie, who's also a beloved type 2, who's just again, someone who is deeply in contact with her heart and is really wired towards relieving the unnecessary suffering of people. And she has something she developed called the work, which is designed to help people start to notice how their patterns are obscuring their heart, and really being able to sit in and rest in the moment and to settle in a place of safety and calm, and a feeling of just being in touch with a natural lovingness. So she's awesome. And then we have Desmond Tutu, another type 2 who's just, you know, uh, uh, overflows with loving kindness and exuberance for human beings. And he and the Dalai Lama wrote a book called The Book of Joy. And he's so open-hearted that he's able to really find the best of any challenging situation, and affirms over and over that the true nature of human beings is to care about each other. And he role models this in his interactions with people, in his teachings. And if you ever have an opportunity to watch him, like on a YouTube video, his heart just radiates and beams this kind of unconditional love and kindness. So when I'm really healthy as a 2, I have the ability to really feel the heartache of people around me. It's as if my heart enters and joins with the heart of another. There's this capacity. It's just the natural way 2s operate, where they feel from their heart right into the insides of the heart of the other. And so when I'm healthy as a 2, we say that I embody what's called a clean heart. So with this capacity to read and feel people's heartbreak and their loss and their suffering, there's also an intuitive wisdom around whether it's my job to help the person in the moment, whether I'm actually invited in to help, whether in spite of the fact that I have an intuitive sense of what their heart needs, whether I just need to stay away from it and let them find their own way. So when I'm healthy as a 2, I've got the capacity to resist the temptation to jump in and help, and to really abide in my own heart and feel from a deeply still place whether it would be useful for me to help or to offer help in this moment. And if it's not, I'm okay with it. I understand that there are other people who can deliver loving kindness and compassion. It doesn't rest all on my shoulders. I trust that, this powerful force of love, which for a type 2 really is the breath I take, it's the water I swim in, and I'm aware that it's everywhere, and that I'm just a part of it. And so when I'm really truly called, I reach out from a place of stillness, with no grasping, no expectation, not wanting anything back. It's just from a place of generosity and true clarity around whether this will be helpful to the person. So there's a way that type 2s healthy 2s have beautiful boundaries, and they're also able to take care of themselves, to listen to their own heart's needs, and to ask for help. So this here is a picture of my wife and my daughter, both type 2s, and you can just see the radiant love that really is between them and comes out towards me quite often, and just a kind of just a natural heartfelt spirit of both of them. So the gift for the 2, is I see the best in people. When I'm really clear, I can notice when someone's not healthy, and I can gently and kindly avoid allowing them into my life. Or I might notice that there's something I can actually do for somebody who's in trouble. And all of it within the awareness that I'm not the one who has to do it all. I'm just one piece of the puzzle. So when I'm healthy, I'm generous. 2s love to show their love and appreciation for people, give them gifts, touch them, give them hugs, give them affirmations. A healthy 2 just sees the best in people and cheers it on, and you can really spot your capacities, and is overjoyed to assist you in feeling confident in yourself and cheerlead for you, and all done with the spirit of a clean heart. Just want to see you succeed, and here I am, and I see what's beautiful in you, and I will speak it, I will say it, I'll affirm you. So there's a beautiful generosity that they exude. Now, when I start to lose contact with essence, with this part of unconditional love, and my personality patterns occlude it, you can say that for the type 2, there's a fear that really gets generated, which is the fear that I'm cut off from love, that I'm unlovable, that I have no way of connecting again with this force of love. So there's kind of a desperation that gets triggered. And one of the strategies I can start doing as a type 2 is I can start overhelping. I can start, giving too much. I can start giving and not being attuned to whether you want me to give it to you. I lose contact with attunement to whether it's really good for you, what I'm offering. And my sense of boundaries kind of disappears. And my impulse is that if I feel an urge to help, it's almost like my inner critic says, okay, you felt that urge to help, now you got to go do it, or you're a selfish person. So the type 2 starts to, in a sense, intrude on people, and to give too much, and to give too strongly, and to not be able to measure clearly what the appropriate amount of loving kindness really works for a person. So people can sometimes start backing away, but it's too much, or it's too sweet, or it's too kind, or you're giving me too much, and I can feel an imbalance here, and it just doesn't feel good. When I'm giving from the place of a clean heart, people don't tend to have that kind of aversion. So I can get possessive of people who I think need me. I can start kind of collecting people as folks that are kind of mine, that I nurture and take care of and possess at the same time. But that's when I'm really in a place of lack of feeling loved, or lack of feeling like people really care about me. So my self-confidence is really shaken, and my real feeling at this point is that I'm not lovable. So we can say the basic fear of the 2, when caught up in their patterns, is of being loveless. The secondary fear is that somehow my needs will get in the way of my relationship. So I start to lose contact with my own particular personal needs and start to shut them down. So I know what you want, and I start to develop this idea that I don't really need, but I know what you need. So just listen up if you would, and I can make your day. And if you ask me if I need something, no, I'm good to go. I'm fine, right? So I start to, develop a kind of an imbalance in terms of how I give and receive. So the basic desire is to feel love, to be a source of love, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's only when I get caught up in the imbalance that it becomes a problem. So my self-image is I'm helpful, loving, caring, selfless, concerned, and warm-hearted. And when I'm really present, I am all those things. When I get really scared and caught up in the feeling of abandonment, I still feel like I'm all those things, but I don't notice that I'm no longer attuned to my own heart and the hearts of others. Now I'm, in a sense, reaching out desperately to keep a connection, because when I lose contact with essence, it feels like we're no longer together. So one of the things Twos will say is that they can, have a great evening with their spouse or their loved one and feel the sense of abundant love. And then when morning comes and they wake up, they'll often say that it feels like I got to start all over again and discover whether we're still connected or not. So that sense of connection with someone I really care about can be very fragile. It can feel like that the connection can be lost in a heartbeat if my partner gives me a negative look, or a look that doesn't look as cheerful as I would like it to be, isn't as cheered up about seeing me as I am about them. But there's this way, as a type 2, there's almost like this sort of a character on my shoulder that's looking to see, like, oh, connection's not there. It's not a good sign. You better go in and check it out, or you better give a gift to that person. You better give them a hug or make them a meal, because you never know. They might leave you forever at any moment. So there's this way my inner critic as a two starts, in a sense, heightening my fear around abandonment, and I start to get tremulous and afraid and uncertain, even if we've had 18 years together married. It's like when I get caught up in the trance of the two, it feels like whatever that connection is, it can be dissolved in 3 seconds flat. So when I'm really present as a two, I can notice, oh, there's that abandonment pattern. Gosh, it's good to have you showing up. You've only been here 10 times today, so come on in. And when I'm really conscious of the pattern, I can navigate it. I can even tell my partner, well, smiling at me with the kind of intensity that I would wish for, so I'm quite certain that at any moment you're going to walk out the door and I'll never see you again. So how are you doing today? How's your day going, right? So I can start to develop a sense of humor around my patterns, which allows the patterns to relax and not rent so much space in my imagination. So we have this cone that reflects the 9 different levels of health of the type 2. So depending on my state of being, I can show up, in a sense, 9 different ways. And this is true for all of us. So, the essential quality of the 2 is a sense of deep love and connection with my heart and the hearts of others, a sense of grounded embodiment of loving kindness, unconditional love. It's like it exists in my heart space. It fills my heart. I don't have to go out and get it from anybody. It's there. It's a part of my true nature. And when I'm in this place, when people, don't want to spend time with me or aren't as excited about being with me, it's not a problem, because I'm secure in the state of love and my connection with love. And I'm also secure that even if you're having a bad day, that you still love me. So there's this kind of beautiful sanity that arises when I'm really present as a 2. So the first 3 levels, we see level 1, I'm in a state of unconditional love. Level 2, I'm loving and empathic. I can feel and sense and have a tender heart towards the suffering of others. At level 3, I'm in contact with this beautiful gift of giving to people and supporting them. I love to support people, and I'm attuned to what your heart's needs are. And I don't feel responsible for being the one who always brings the love to the table. I know that I can relax, and that I will know when it's my turn to participate. Now, when I hit level 4, 5, and 6, level 4, 5, and 6 we call the average levels. And at the average levels, my personality patterns are, in a sense, crushing and sort of squeezing and closing over on my essence. So what does that mean? It means I'm scared. It means I'm feeling loveless. It means I'm feeling rejected, that nobody wants me. And the pattern can be so strong, I can't even say it out loud. I just start succumbing to it. And what happens, there are particular behaviors that I start to express to compensate for the feeling that I'm loveless and abandoned. So we say people pleasing. I start being so good at foreseeing your needs that you become dependent on me, and there's no way you would get rid of me, because I'm like the wind underneath your wings. I'm without me, things aren't going to go well. So I start developing this hyper attention to foreseeing your needs and to bringing whatever it is you need, and that can be okay and a wonderful gift, but it can also become too much. So I become ingratiating. What does that mean? I'm saying things that will get you to like me. I'm flattering you. I'm telling you how awesome you are. And it's not from a place of pure appreciation. It's infused with the sense that I must ingratiate you to me, or I will lose you. Because on some level, I feel like there's no way you'd want to be with me. So I go down to level 5, I start to get intrusive and possessive. whoever I've been, being loving to or just to, I start to feel like, you're kind of my possession now. And I don't really think this consciously. Anything that starts happening at level 4 and down happens from the standpoint that I can't really observe myself in action. I can't see my patterns. I can't see myself acting out my patterns. And so I become more unconscious and more robotic, all of it designed to try to calm the state of feeling unloved down. So I can get possessive, intrusive, grasping, pulling people towards me. At level 6, I can get overbearing. People start to get really angry with me because I get kind of nosy with finding out what they need. And I get kind of pushy, like almost demanding. And here's a gift for you. You take it, right? And maybe you've experienced this with less than healthy type 2, where they bring you food and expect you to eat that food, and then they expect you to eat the entree, the dessert, the appetizer, and there's a sense that if you don't do it, that you really offended them, and they start to get a little edgy and overbearing and angry, and even at their worst, self-important. Now, all the types down at level 6, are unconscious and being run by fear. So overbearing for the type 2 means I get pushy, demanding, expect you to start noticing me, expect you to see that I'm the most awesome person you've ever met. And if you don't, then I start to hold a grudge. I go down to level 7, 8, 9. I become more manipulative and deceptive about how I'm operating around you. I'm not as honest. There's a way I work behind the scenes to try to pull you in towards me. And level 8, coercive, entitled, I get demanding. And level 9, I'm in terrible shape. 7, 8, 9, mental health issues are popping up, and I'm desperate. I'm just desperate. So I do what a type 2 does under desperation. I get manipulative, deceptive, coercive, entitled. So we say that what happens when 2 disconnects from their heart, and their heart closes down, is that the passion of pride arises. We call that the unwillingness to recognize our suffering. It becomes humility that draws attention to itself. Well, what does that mean? Well, type 2s, when they're not at their best, will have a subtle way of reminding them of just how compassionate they are. They'll just point to it, or they'll point to the fact that they have this quality of humility. They'll start advertising their humility, right, as a form to get your approval. And of course, when we're less healthy, it does the opposite, and people push away. But there's a way that's so hard to be the loving, kind one to get you to like me that they don't notice that I've gotten caught up in my fear patterns. So that said, the core identification of the 2 is identifying powerfully with feelings for and about others, and feelings about others' responses to me. So what happens for the 2 when I lose contact with that center of unconditional love in my being is I need you to validate whether I'm still loving. So I'm watching your responses all the time. And if I'm not getting a response that says, yes, you are loved, then I'm going to amp up my efforts. I'm going to try harder, because as a type 2, I'm not going to go down just sitting here and having you walk away. I'll chase you if I have to and give you something to remind you of my value, so that you might turn to me and say, you are loving, you're so lovingly amazing. So I start to need other people to validate that I'm a loving person. And as I become more consumed by fear and sense of not being lovable, I start doing this more assertively, more intrusively, and I can't see I'm doing it. If I could see I was doing it, I would stop it in a heartbeat. And this is true for all the types. When we're caught up in our patterns, if we could actually see ourselves doing it, we would stop in a heartbeat. So there's room for a tremendous amount of compassion for the type as they get caught up in their suffering, understanding that they're in pain and they don't have the ego strength or the wherewithal to just notice wow, I'm ready to sell my soul to just have you tell me that I'm lovable. I'm feeling that kind of despair. Now that would be a more conscious two. Just by telling the truth of it, you relax some of that crazy trance-like capacity of the two's patterns to just sweep over them and have them go into unconscious mode. I resist recognizing my own feelings and my own needs. So if we look here at this next slide, when I start to lose contact with essence, the passion of pride arises. And part of the passion of pride is this idea that I don't have permission to ask for help. My inner critic says, you ask for help, you ask for what you need, and you are selfish. So I developed this way of compromise or adapting to that message by becoming prideful about, I don't need any help. I'm good to go. But I can help you. And ironically, type 2s are quite awesome at getting other people into therapy and forgetting to get themselves into therapy. And you know a 2 is starting to heal when they say, I need some help. I'm going to go get it. And they do, right? That's a healthy 2 moving in the direction of their growth. So we say the wake-up call for the 2, something that can give them, bring their attention to noticing, oh, I'm getting caught up in my patterns, my fear patterns, my shame patterns, my hurt patterns. We call it leaning in or people pleasing. And leaning in is I start to compulsively lean towards and lean in to help people before I even notice whether they need my help. I get caught up in, I can see what you need and now I must give it to you. So I lean in and I can intrude. People come back off. Or I notice when I'm just trying to be pleasing around everything, smiling, ingratiating. There's nothing negative in me at all. I'm just smiling. I'm delivering love. All is good, and if I can help you any way I can, I will. And I start, in a sense, overdoing my caring for people, and it comes from this belief that I must go out to others to win them over. And ultimately, winning them over means I'm establishing some evidence that we're connected. Because when I start to lose contact with that state of unconditional love in my own being, it feels like I've been cut off from love. And there's a despair that pops up. And I start trying to do things that affirm to me that we're still connected. So I might give you stuff. I've been with wonderful 2s who, whenever it's time to leave, they always give me something. It's almost like, here, take a part of me and put me in your pocket so that you remember me, and I know that we're still connected. So that's a wake-up call for me as a 2 when I notice I'm leaning in, I'm pushing in. And if I've got good friends around me, they can help me see this. Because when I start to do the leaning in and trying to make connection, most of the time, I think my intentions are good, and I'm not aware, and I'm scared of abandonment. And so we often, all of us, need outside help, other people who have their eyes on us, so that when we go into our patterns, they can kindly and gently say, whatever you've agreed on, hey, Tom, you're doing that 2 thing, or maybe it's just a word, daylight, and Tom goes, oh, I'm doing that, aren't I? So you create a communication that allows you to come to a stop and allows you also to receive help. So that said, we say that type 2, when they start to get healthier, it begins to move in the direction of 4, where they begin to embrace what might be called emotional honesty. When I'm healthy as a 2, I can talk about things that bother me. I don't have to be pleasant all the time. If I'm hurt, I can say, what you just did there really hurt. I'd like that to stop. So I can create a boundary, and we can insist on that boundary with firmness, saying, this isn't working for me. I need you to not be so judgmental, and if you keep that up, I'm not going to stay around. I'll go do something else. But There's this way that I can notice your less healthy behavior is harming me. And at this point, it looks like you're not able to stop. So that's fine. I'll talk to you later. So I begin to become more direct about my emotional state, being able to feel them and express them in the very best of the type 4. So we say the path of transformation is the path of nurturing, taking care of myself. And I realize maybe I could do something good for myself too. I begin to notice, oh, I've got this creativity. I notice when I'm painting, I love to paint. I feel so joyful. And then I notice that I give up that joy in a heartbeat when someone asks for something from me. It's like wind that goes right through my hands. Here I have this love for painting that just illuminates me and opens my heart and brings so much joy. But it's like so fragile in the beginning that, maybe my daughter says, "Oh, Mom, I must go to the mall. I've got to get this outfit for the dance. It's just going to be a horrid night. And here's the beloved two at their easel painting. They go, okay, let's go." And off they go. And then they can notice that months go by before they get back to the easel and start painting again. So I start to notice this and, in a sense, become more committed to not giving myself up so easily. And that's a growth edge for the two. Maybe I don't need to offer help. These are just realizations that I have. So that's the 2. If you have questions, any kind of questions, don't hesitate to email me. And I'm going to end this particular video, and we'll then do the type 3.